choppy.
Oh, it does. Hang on a minute.
And our story starts up there at Tinmouth Priory. I need to do that bit again. I can't say it. Also, honey, when you bought me these, well, look, they don't fit in my notions pouch. It's fine. Tinmouth Priory.
About there. Yeah, about there. Don't cut the other thread. Oh! Heels. No, that's not heel. Heel. No, that's not heel. You haven't failed. What? Holy moly! Oh, they're quite sharp, aren't they? Creases.
Right, get up. That's mine. Ow! That really hurt.
The thickness.
Right.
I like just not being able to feel it.
Thinner stitch marker.
Yeah.
Oh, look who's here. You've just joined us as we're having a bit of a discussion about stitch markers.
Stitch markers.
I prefer the slightly thicker ones.
And I like really thin ones.
I mean, clearly that must have happened to you if you're concerned about it. It must have caused...
No, I don't think it ever causes a ladder. I just don't like having to... I don't like it when I can feel the stitch marker a lot.
I think the
when
problem...
it's thicker and having to pull it across the back of the stitch marker, I just feel like sometimes that might produce a bit more yarn there than you would normally have between two stitches.
I worry...
I don't know if I'm just being paranoid about that.
Personally, I worry about losing the stitch marker when it's really thin.
Why would you lose
it flying off, I mean.
Oh, right.
And because I do tend... I have been known to drop the odd stitch marker.
Well, we all have, haven't we? I found one in your car in the footwell the other day, didn't I?
What knitter doesn't have stitch markers in their footwell?
I bet if we searched all of our cars...
Or the other place,
we could start an Etsy shop selling stitch markers.
If you're looking for a stitch marker, go down the side of your sofa.
Yeah.
Because I bet you there's one down there as well.
There will be. Good morning.
Yes, welcome to episode 73.
73.
Thank you. We're back and it's a brand new era with the Bakery Bears podcast. Because an era ended last episode. We didn't think we were starting an era way back in episode 2 when we started our first favourite place to knit. And we're not going to dwell on that now because we had our debate and we've discussed them all. So the favourite place to knit era is over.
Yeah.
And the era of the new adventures of the Bakery Bears has begun.
Yes. And we were talking about it yesterday, weren't we? And because I watched back the full edit of what Dan had done for the one you'll see in this episode, and we were saying it's kind of the same but different, and I think that's how you'll feel about it.
And you will see. Yeah. You will see later on in the show. It's very exciting. Very exciting. We'd initially planned to start our first new adventure in June. That's when we spoke about this. That's what we said we were going to do.
Yeah.
We were just thinking about, my recovery and doing it at the right time and planning it right. But then you just announced the other day. Yeah. Well, it wasn't the other day. It was a few weeks ago.
A couple of weeks ago, wasn't it?
Look.
We just need to get back
your finger out.
We just need to get back to it.
That's what you said.
It just didn't feel right that we weren't doing them.
It's not the Bakery Bears.
We couldn't do them whilst Dan was recovering, and he still is recovering, from the surgery.
More about that in a minute.
He is a lot better, and it just didn't feel right that we weren't doing it. It felt like something was missing.
So we pushed the fast forward button on the production because we've really gone to town on the production side of it, and the first one is ready for you today. So later on in the show, take your seats because it's time for the new adventures of the Bakery Bears.
I think you'll really enjoy it. I hope so.
Liz Farley-Metzger, get Stephen, otherwise you're going to have to start the whole episode again. No, Stephen. Do you know what I'm loving about the Wake Up Cowl? Remember our Wake Up Cowl section where you head over to our Welcome to the Bakery Bear thread, and if you'd like a shout out for a significant other who's sat watching with you, we'll do our best to get to as many as we can. What I'm loving about this is we are both actually equally passionate about this, engaging people in the wonderful world that we all enjoy of knitting, breaking down those barriers and stopping people thinking, it's not for me. Of course it is, or it might be if you give it a go.
It might be, yeah. You just never know. And I think especially with men,
and
they've got that mental barrier, haven't they, with regards to it.
Yeah.
So I think, if you can persuade the men in your life
if we can persuade the
men in your life to give it a go.
And what's been marvellous about Favourite Places to Knit is it has sucked in those outside viewers who perhaps don't have so much of a knitty interest. New Adventures will continue to do that, I promise you.
Yeah.
But Wake Up Carl has started to... People are appearing who I didn't know were sat watching with their significant other. And I know that Liz has watched for a long time, but I certainly wasn't aware that Stephen, or as I like to call him, the sockmatician doppelganger...
He does, yeah. They've got kind of matching beards, haven't they?
So Stephen, are you sitting comfortably? Well, we'll begin. Who did that? Was that Watch with Mother?
Watch with Mother.
Oh, I'm showing my age.
Watch with Mother. Wasn't
Yes.
it Read? It wouldn't have been Watch.
It was.
Well, I don't know.
That's what it started out with. Children's TV programs in this country were initially Watch with Mother. And who was the horse?
Oh,
They're all shouting at us. Oh, this is terrible. So yeah, I sit comfortably. Well, we'll begin.
So I've been putting it off. But we went to George at Asda. Asda is part of the Walmart group now. So it's a supermarket, but it also does clothes.
Now, it has been for about 15 years.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's a long time.
Gosh. Well, it does clothes and home furnishings and all stuff like this. So, and the clothes are okay. They're pretty good quality and they're a good price. So I thought, well, that's brilliant. We'll just do that and get us a simple kind of wardrobe. We went in and we saw these jumpers and Brian's like, oh, Mummy, it's got bees on. We always call her Bryony Bee. So I said, right, let's get one.
Well, we call her Buzzy Bee.
Buzzy Bee, sorry, yeah. Buzzy Bee, we always called her when she was little. Oh, that's really cute. And so she really wanted this jumper with bees and they only had a size that I would get. But when I looked at it, I thought, do you know what? I think that'll be fine on you. Because we have to buy a bigger size for the height. It's not. She doesn't need the width necessarily, or I say the arm length, but her arms are so long; they're longer than mine. So anyway, we got this size, and then I tried it on. I'm like, oh, I might borrow it. So it's actually Bryony's, and she's not worn it yet.
Now, you may know that I do have one weakness.
Only one?
Well, I may have a few weaknesses. What are my weaknesses? Handspun.
Coffee.
No, not so much.
Not so much anymore.
No, that weakness has waned.
Ice cream?
Yes.
Oh, there you
well
go.
done. Now, I really love the not Haagen-Dazs. It's the Ben & Jerry's with the twist of toffee sauce in the middle.
Caramel.
Yes, but I've actually stopped buying it because it's gone up so much. So I had a dilemma. How do I get over my need for toffee sauce? Well, it's not toffee sauce, it's salted caramel sauce.
It's caramel sauce, isn't it?
Look what I found.
Oh my word.
Oh my goodness. It's unbelievable. Shall I tell you what it tastes like? It's like the caramel that you make with carnation cream.
Right.
That's what it tastes like.
Probably is.
It doesn't taste very salty, to be honest.
Oh, does it not?
No, there could be more salt added, I think. But oh my goodness, now, I can now put this on anything. I was thinking...
Spreading it on his toast, except you wouldn't have toast.
I don't eat bread, do I? I was thinking of trying this on a falafel later.
Have you still got some left?
I do.
Oh, right.
Yesterday, our next Cooking the World was published, and we were cooking Egypt.
Yeah.
If you haven't watched it, get over there and watch it, because, my goodness, they are gorgeous.
Oh, yeah, I didn't eat them because
They were so gorgeous.
I don't do spicy.
This is how gorgeous they are. There are 2 levels of gorgeousness. The first level is so gorgeous I have to eat the lot right now. The second level of gorgeousness is it's so gorgeous I'm going to eat half now and save the other half for tomorrow.
Is that what you did?
That is what I did.
So you've still got 2 left?
I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, I'm going to eat them. I'm going to eat them now. And then I thought, do you know what? I enjoyed these so much. I want to enjoy them again tomorrow too.
Oh, well done.
The brand new issue of Knitability is out today.
Yeah.
So, Baker Rest Podcast patrons, it will be in your inbox at some point today. And it's just the best issue ever, but we'll tell you more about it at the end of the show.
It's really good.
This is a knitting podcast. And I think it's time that we found out. Are you ready?
Do you like my sheep?
Oh, yes.
Look at my sheep.
Kay announced at Easter.
How cute.
She said, what am I supposed to do?
Shocking to drink out of.
She said, what am I supposed to do at Easter? I can't, I don't like chocolate. So
I love chocolate.
But she can't eat it.
Can't eat it.
But she's like, what precisely can I do?
I was like, you get chocolate, Bryony gets chocolate. What do I get at Easter?
Well, what you get is some of
I've
these
got some bunny ears.
lovely bunny ears. Pop them on. Gosh. She looks so great in these bunny ears. Look at those. Especially with the vent over here. It's so great.
Yeah,
You look
I did wear them while we were eating Easter lunch.
But these are the ears you can wear any
They kind
time
of
of
slide.
the year.
I can feel them sliding back on my head. They're not really big enough.
Right.
I never think they do. They design them for children, don't they? But children's heads are much bigger than you think. They're fairly adult size, and these just look tiny.
They do.
So-
But she got that, and also look what else she got. Now I didn't think that when Bryony and it's Bryony actually who spotted this and chose this for you. When we saw this, I mean, perfect. She had to have it. Sheepy mug. I didn't honestly think that she'd drink out of it because it's clearly not.
It goes.
It's not been designed to drink out of.
It curves in at the top like that.
This is
so that when you try and drink out of it, it's not easy because it goes in rather than being straight up or going out.
It's definitely been designed for pens.
Yeah, well, but I really like it, and I've been using.
So
I have
drink
been
out of it
using
then.
it. I have been using
You
it.
have.
I just have to be careful when I drink that I don't dribble all down my face, which possibility.
But this is a knitting podcast, so I think it's time that we find out. Kay Jones, what's on your needles?
Cool. Well, we went out the other day to do some recording for a future episode, and I just suddenly had an urge to cast on a sock head hat. When I've not really. I mean, I have got some socks on the go, but they're on DPNs, the ones that I'm knitting, and I never really like taking DPN socks out when I'm in the car and things because I have dropped DPNs before in the car, and if you drop them down the side, of a seat and
there's a hole
and it goes underneath your seat, you're just never going to see that DPN again.
There's a gap where,
There's always
and I'm
a
telling
gap.
you, it's in all cars. If
it
it goes down there,
Yeah.
the only way you get to it is by taking the seats out.
Well, I know, and when I always want to have magic loop socks when I'm sort of out in the car, and I hadn't got any at the time. I have now, but I hadn't at the time. So I thought, do you know what? I'm going to cast on a sock head hat because then I can just keep it in my bag, not ever take it out. Because again, quite often when we go out, I forget to put some knitting in my bag, and if we're sat in the car for 10 minutes, I'm like, oh. So I thought I'd do that, and then I remembered that I've got this skein of yarn ages ago, and I cast on socks with it, and for whatever reason, I can't remember the reason now, I pulled them out in socks, and I honestly can't remember why. There was obviously a reason at the time. And I've since used bits of it in mini projects and things, but I still had probably 80 grams left. And it's a really expensive yarn. And actually, when I looked at the sock head pattern, it's the actual yarn that she uses in the pattern. So I thought, oh gosh, I've got to use that. And it's the Misty Alpacas hand-painted sock, and the colour I've got is Tilt-a-Whirl. I think that's like a fairground ride, isn't it? We wouldn't call it a Tilt-a-Whirl, but I think it's some kind of fairground ride. So this is the colourway. It's really, really pretty.
Hold on, isn't there a thing which raises up and then drops down? It's like a roundabout, and you stand with your back to it, and it goes up and it tilts and spins.
Yeah, it could be that, couldn't it?
Is it that? Help us in.
And it's really pretty. It's got like a corally peachy colour, red. It's got a beautiful olivey green, purple, burgundy. It's just really, really pretty. And the yarn is the mix of the fibres I've never ever found in any other sock yarn. It's alpaca, merino, silk and nylon. So it's a fabulous mix, and it's very soft. Normally with alpaca I am quite sensitive to it, but this, I can feel the smallest hint of a prickle, but I can tell it won't bother me on my head, because you've got your hair up there as well. And it's very expensive for us to buy in this country. I got mine from Love Knitting, and I checked yesterday actually, because I bought this ages ago, so I thought I'll check and make sure they still have it, and they do. And they've got a number of colours, but it's just over £25 a skein. I think that's very expensive, but I think they have to ship it in from America, or it might even come from America. You don't pay any, you just pay the normal Love Knitting shipping costs, which, quite often it'll be free shipping anyway if you bought over a certain amount. So anyway, I had this. And I'd also recently got some 3mm Chowgu hat size needles, the 16-inch. So I thought that's perfect. I can try out these needles as well. So I cast it on the way there, and I knit for about 40 minutes when I was sat, you and Bryony were just playing around. And I love these Chowgu needles. You can kind of see it. Oh, look, it's quite good for showing you the different colours.
I think they're named brilliantly.
It's really pretty.
The Colorway. The Colorway's Tilt-A-Whirl, yeah?
Yeah, Tilt-A-Whirl.
Because when I look at that, when you're on... I remember as a kid being on rides where you're spinning around and you're seeing things flash. Yeah. That's what that looks like.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah. I mean, I love how it's working up. It's kind of doing
Colorway.
A little... It won't pull. Certainly not, I don't know what will happen in the decreases, but looking at it, it's not pooling. It is kind of doing a nice stripy thing. Can you see? And it's beautiful yarn. It really is beautiful. I do kind of, at the moment, I do feel like it is worth that money. Who makes it again? Misty Alpacas. Right. It is really gorgeous, and I've actually, when I was looking yesterday, I wrote down 2 colourway names to give to Dan for part of my Christmas list this year. So I'm just knitting a sockhead hat, so I've only done an inch. But this needle, I really love it. The difference between, because it's the stiff cable, the Chowgu cable, and the difference is sometimes when you're knitting on these 16-inch, where the needle ends and the cable starts, it can kind of go back on itself. Do you know what I mean? Because they're more flexible. Whereas this, because it's so stiff, the cable, it just stays put, and it makes the knitting of it just really lovely. I'm an absolute Chowgu convert at the moment. I'll talk about Chowgu a bit more on one of my other projects. So I'm really loving this, and if you've never tried this yarn, and you feel like a little bit of a splurge, if you've got a birthday coming up or something, or an anniversary, then I would really recommend it. It is beautiful, and I do want some more of it, definitely, because it's just so lovely to knit with.
We've had a bit of a laugh and a joke about ball bands, and
Oh, I lost the ball band to that ages ago.
Oh dear. Because I was about to say, Kate, now's your chance to redeem yourself.
I've had it balled up.
Produce the ball band from the bag.
I've had it balled up
and I'll
for
see
ages.
if I can produce my ball band from my bag. Oh, look.
Well, I probably put that in your bag.
You did not.
I think I did.
You did not.
Well, I would have balled up that yarn for you. I would have caked it up, because you don't do that. So I would have given it to you with... In fact, what I would have done is given you the yarn cake with the ball band on top like that. So then you will have put it in your bag like that. Really? So just take all the credit for that, please. Go ahead. Yes.
I'll also take the credit for this wonderful bag. Isn't it nice?
You made that, did you?
No, of course I didn't. I love this bag, but you know all about this bag. And I'm still searching for replacement trousers.
Sure.
But to be honest, I am quite enjoying those safari type, not safari, the ones, the cargo-y type ones.
Yeah. They're very pale coloured, aren't they, though?
They are, but...
You look like you're going, like...
They're really good on my scarf.
Like the old-fashioned people in the jungle.
Yes. I should have one of those hats on with the policeman type hats. Have you finished?
Yes.
Great, in that case.
Dan Jones.
Yes.
What's on your needles?
Well, you're my hero entry, Cowl.
Yay.
Yes. Which of course finishes in a few days.
It does.
I have until Sunday midnight.
Yep.
To finish this, and I'm feeling sort of confident because I've got not that far to go, and then I'm on the decrease, and the decreases are quite sharp. So
there's not many rows, is there?
No. So if I have a concerted effort, and I cast this on the 1st of the month, this is a good effort for me. I've been doing a lot of knitting.
Yep.
This is good.
Yep.
So, and it's just been lovely to come back to the Bankhead. It really has. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. It's going to be a
lovely hat.
Thoroughly enjoyed knitting this. As I've said before, I'm knitting it slightly longer than I would normally to give it a bit of slouch, and we may even make a pom-pom to stick on the end.
May we?
You.
I am going to make a pom-pom.
Excellent,
Yeah.
excellent. I know, I'm really pleased about that because I think that
Well, I'm hoping there'll be enough yarn. I mean, there should be. You've got that much left. There's probably...
Do not lose my ball band.
Oh, honestly.
What I'm not worried, what I'm excited about is I think the design will suit a pom-pom because I think the lines go up to a centre, and if there's a pom-pom set on the top, it'll sort of feel like a cherry on the top.
Lovely. Look at that. Isn't it pretty?
It is absolutely gorgeous yarn, and it's just fun to knit with, you know.
Really pretty.
And you know, it's a dark colour.
It's dark, but it's got a lot of interest.
It has loads of interest.
Yeah.
And at no point, sometimes when, I don't know about you, sometimes when I knit with dark colours, they can be quite hard to see the stitches.
Yeah, I don't often knit with really dark colours because of that. I just don't. Dark colours are not normally my thing, but...
I've not had a problem, not even once.
I would knit with that though.
Yeah.
Because it's interesting.
It really is interesting. The twisted rib, I think, on the bottom.
Your twisted ribs are always so neat, just because
Because of my
your gauge is... Yeah, but it's so neat. Can you see how lovely it is?
It's super cool.
Yeah.
And knitting twisted rib. Knitting normal rib, I find it a bit tedious.
I don't mind.
Especially 2x2 normal rib.
I don't mind. Well, I'm knitting a sockhead hat, aren't I? So, I mean, I obviously don't mind. I don't mind it. Once...
To be fair, though, it's true, I didn't mind the 2x2 in the Irish coffee.
Yeah, there's a lot of that, isn't there?
Can you do 2x2 twisted?
I have done that before, yeah.
What's that
I've
like?
Done it
on what?
On...
I'd like to see that.
I might have given it away.
No.
I think I did it on a sock head one time. No. I have done a 2x2 twisted rib, definitely. Can't remember what on though. But it looked really nice.
I think I might try that on something. Could you effectively do that on anything that's got 2x2 ribbing?
Well,
You could just swap it to twisted and...
I don't see why not.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I might try that. And but I'll have to work... Oh, do you know that? That's making me think, after I finish this hat, cast on a Declan's hat. Because that's got 2x2 on the brim.
Yeah, it has.
And it is just 2x2, isn't it? There's nothing fancy going on. It's only at the end where you cast on an
The
additional...
only thing with doing that twisted is that the 2x2 ribbing that goes up into the cables, and that might look a bit weird.
It won't work.
You'd have to twist the cables. You could twist the cables.
Oh.
That'd be a challenge. Do twisted stitch on the cables.
This is a good idea. Because it would change the hat, wouldn't it? It would give it a slight twist.
A twisted cable looks lovely.
Oh, I'm going to do that. You might need to help me.
Well, very possibly. I might need help.
You always need
He's
help.
nearly gone.
Kay Jones, what else is on your needles?
Well,
That's my favourite colour.
up there you go. But I've cast on another pair of socks for Dan. I don't know how we got onto the subject, but I think Bryony was asking what our favourite colours were or something about a week or so ago. And of course I didn't need to answer. She just went, Mum, yours is pink. Dad, what's your favourite colour? Yes. And Dan announced that it was orange. And I was like, what? When did you decide it was orange? Because I
look good in orange.
I expected him to say like green, olivey green or a blue. But he said orange, and he said he liked burnt orange in particular. And you're right, that colour will really suit you.
Because I'm a redhead.
Because of your hair. So I was like, oh, do you know what? I really want to dye up some orange yarn now, because I don't use orange so much a lot in dyeing, because I'm not particularly drawn to it. However, this, really made me want to do it. So, but I dyed up this yarn. Oh, it looks quite red actually on that screen. It is more orange. It's blowing out incredibly as far as I can see, but it's more burnt orange. It really is. More tones of burnt oranges, and there is some red in there. There's also a tiny bit of hot pink as well. I dyed this on my favourite sock base, which is a BFL nylon. It's 80-20, 80% superwash BFL nylon, 80% superwash BFL 20 nylon, and it's a high twist. I don't know if I hold it up, if you can see the twist on it, but it's a really nice twist. And I just love it, and it's a slightly plumper yarn as well. You get 365 meters for 100 grams, so it's a nice plump yarn, and I just love it for socks. I've knit several pairs in this base, and I love them. They're my favourite socks, hand dyed that I've knit. So I thought, right, I will cast on a sock. So at the same time, I discovered that the new Chowgu mini twist needles you can actually buy as separates. I just thought it came in the set, and I didn't want to spend the money on the set because I wouldn't use, it goes really small sizes. I think it starts at 1.75 millimeters. I just wouldn't use that size of a needle. But I found out you can buy them separately, the cables and the needles, because they're interchangeables. So I was all over that. I had to go and order some. So I ordered 2 needle tips, 2.25 and 2.5, because that's the 2 sizes that I use for mine and Dan's socks. And I ordered what I thought was the right cable size. However, the confusing thing, and you've got to be aware of this, and I didn't know, when you buy these cables, the sizes are quoted and it's the actual cable length. It's not the finished needle length. Now, normally when you get an interchangeable set of needles and it tells you cable sizes, I've only ever seen it quoted as like 24 inch, 32 inch, 40 inch. That's the size of the finished needle. The cable is actually smaller than that because your tips are usually 5 inches, I think, aren't they? So your tips total 10 inches and the cable length, therefore, is 10 inches shorter. I didn't know any of this when I ordered the cable length, and I looked at the length and there was like 30 inch, 37 inch, and I'm thinking these are not the lengths I'm used to. But I thought, well, 30 inch is the nearest to 32 inch, which is what I knit magic loop, so I'll order those. Mistake. It's actually the cable length is 30 inches, so it makes a 40 inch needle. So you can see this is what happened, which is perfect for 2 at a time socks, but I don't knit 2 at a time socks. And it still works as magic loop, it's just more pushing and pulling unnecessarily. So when I realised my mistake, I went back and ordered the right length, which should have been 22 inches to get a 32 inch needle length. But they still haven't arrived, and I ordered them from Loop in London, which is where I ordered these, and these came very quickly. And I think I really should have had them yesterday going on the dispatch date, and I haven't got them yet, so I'm really hoping they come today. So I got mine from Loop in London. There are other stockists in the UK, but the ones I looked at didn't have the right cable length. So I had to order them from Loop, even though they are more expensive, and I don't normally order from Loop at all because they are expensive, I find. But I did in this case. So I had to, even though I knew I'd got the wrong cable length, I had to cast them on. This cable is unbelievable. I will show you the one that's not attached to my knitting, because I can still use these, you know. But here's the cable, and I hope you can see just how thin the cable is. Let me get a normal needle. So here's a normal Chowgu cable. And here is the new one. Can you see how much thinner that cable is? And it's the same type of cable. So it's got the metal innard, and it is so incredibly flexible, and there's no memory as such. So, you know, you can see how it just hangs there. You know, normally with magic loop, quite often if you get a cable that's not so good, it just, you can't ever, it bends out of the wrong shape, doesn't it, and can cause issues. This is just amazing. It's so thin and so fantastic. You know, the join is brilliant. I can't fault them. I cannot fault these needles for magic loop at all. Really, really cannot. So here's my sock, and I love how it's knitting up the yarn. I think it's so pretty and fun and bright. So I did a 2x2 rib, and then I was just going to do a plain sock. But then I suddenly thought, this colourway I called Fawkes because Bryony said it looked like Dumbledore's Phoenix. So I got to the end of the rib and I thought, oh, I wonder if I can somehow create a little lightning zigzag down, you know, in a ribbed sort of effect. And I'm not sure I've been completely successful, but actually the more I knit of it, the more I can see of it. And I think it's a busy yarn, so that doesn't help. But you can see it, I think. But the thing I like about it is it's a 4-row repeat, it's simple, and it keeps me motivated to knit it. And that's the most important thing with socks, especially when I'm knitting for Dan, because they're so big that I need any kind of motivation possible just to keep going, you know. So I'm really enjoying them, and I only stopped because the cable was just, you know, because I was pushing it a long way. So I'm just waiting for the new cable, and then I will attach it and just really get going on them. But I love how it knits up, so anybody who bought this in my last update, I think you'll really love it. It's very autumnal, I think. So it might be that I just hold on to this colourway now and then dye it up again in maybe like August, you know, ready for autumn, because I think it's beautiful sort of autumnal looking colour. So there we go, that's those. And it's 2.25 mils I use for Dan's and 72 stitches.
The other motivation for you knitting me socks is my intense appreciation of every pair that I have.
Oh, we were talking the other day, weren't we? We were...
We do sometimes.
We do sometimes talk, and I'd washed a load of Dan's socks, and that's something to say actually. I normally hand wash all of my socks, and I just decided recently I threw a pair of my Regia socks into just a 30-degree wash with some towels, you know, just a kind of gentle wash, just to give it a go. And it wasn't a particularly precious pair. I just thought I'll try it. And they came out beautiful. And so I said to Dan, oh, you know, you've got socks to wash. They were all Opal or Osterman Step. I said, I'm going to throw them in the wash again, just on a 30-degree gentle wash. And they came out fabulous, didn't they?
They do come out fabulous, and I tell you what's interesting.
And it sucks them all in again, you know.
Let me tell you, these socks were more sucked in than when you finish knitting them.
Yeah.
I mean, that's quite a good thing, isn't it? Because they pull back into their shape and they fit.
Have you got a pair on?
Yes.
So the fit's still fine and everything.
They fit fine, but it's
So it's not like they've shrunk.
They've not shrunk.
All that's happened is they've gone back to
probably factory freshness.
Yeah. And it was brilliant. So I think from now on I am going to machine wash just on a gentle cycle. I won't put hand dyed socks in there, because one of Bryony's socks went in by mistake. One of her Nyan cat socks. She still wears them, but it did fade. It did fade quite a lot. So I won't put hand-dyed socks in, but I will definitely put in commercial yarn socks. Opal, Regia, Osterman Step, all those types. Because
Lovely.
It worked brilliant.
I forgot what cast on I did. Will it have just been... No, I did the other one.
You did Twisted German.
Come on!
You did Twisted German.
I'm the boy! Yes! Now... Look.
Oh, you must feel sorry for me having to live with him, honestly. You must do. Please tell me you feel sorry for me.
I'm not at all where I should be, but it's my first one, and of course it's the Dan and Lara project. It's my first sock of the Dan and Lara project. It's my first time using DPNs, and it's 10 pairs of socks over 12 months. So strictly speaking, I do have on the first pair an additional month to make them, don't I? Yes, I do.
Do you? Oh, yes, because it's 10 in 12 months.
If I'm going to speed up.
That's true, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, here is my first sock, and it's the Stree sock, and lots of people have been doing this with me. I do really love the pattern, so does Kay. I know we spoke about this a little bit before. With regards to knitting with the DPNs, what I'm finding really interesting is when I was at college learning to be a drummer, one of the things that we used to have to do was work on the dexterousness of our hands, and we used to use all sorts of different things to do that. I remember in particular there was a thing which many of you may have seen where it's like a workout for your fingers, where you've got buttons on springs and a button on this side for your thumb. Have you seen these, Kay?
Yeah.
Where you can do that, and percussionists and drummers do that a lot to try and strengthen their hands up. They should just get them to do this. Because
do you know
my hands are, there's muscles on my hands working that I don't think have ever worked. So it's working out my hands in a way totally unlike. So I would say that DPN sock knitting does require, I think, a certain amount of hand dexterousness.
I agree.
And I think as well, when you have big hands, you sometimes have to work slightly harder when you're dealing with small needles, because you're trying to, I think, I mean, maybe I'm speaking totally out of turn here. So I'm finding it a challenge, but a positive one. I'm not complaining about this challenge.
No, you're not complaining.
And the sock it's producing is really lovely. The pattern is really great. I'm looking forward to getting down to the end and knitting them. And do you know what I think I might do? Is when I've knit all the socks, I might knit these again on magic loop.
Just see how you feel about it.
Yeah, just to compare the finish and also see how I feel after, you know, a good chunk of DPN knitting. Come back to these. In fact, I'm definitely going to do that. And knit another pair and just see if, you know, because you've, of course, had gauge differences. And that was a whole thing last year with you and knitting socks for me. So it'd be interesting to see if there is a gauge difference. I just think my gauge is tight no matter what.
I think it is. Yeah, I don't think there's...
But the fabric this sock creates is really lovely. I mean, it really is nice.
It's yeah.
It has a real bounce about it too.
Yeah. I gave a skein. I dyed 2 of these up at a time because I always dye 2 skeins at a time. And the other of this, the pair to this, I gave to Deb. And she says she's going to cast on some socks with it soon. So I'll be interested to see what she thinks as well.
Oh, the yarn's lovely.
Yeah, it is lovely.
It's a great base and the colourway is exactly what I was looking for. Thank you.
Oh, good. You're welcome.
Are you ready for another project?
I am. I'm just trying to untangle it all.
So just while you're finishing untangling, there's it's the lovely fondant fancy, which Kay dyed up for me.
And it's 100% BFL sport weight, and I love it. And I've got a load more because
so you got loads for me for socks.
I just thought, I haven't dyed any up for the shop yet, for my Etsy shop, because I only ordered, enough to keep Dan going on this project. But that's not to say I won't in the future. If people would like a sport weight sock, then...
Would you?
Would you like some sport weight sock yarn? I find that when I dye up for the shop, when I dye sort of DK weights, they never sell as quickly as the fingering weights. And I want to produce what people would like. So I kind of think, would you like sport weight yarn in the shop? And if people would like it, then I will absolutely get it and dye it because it's a lovely base. So let me know.
What's going on?
Well, this bag was kind of a mess.
What else is on your needles?
So I thought I would show you.
I'm disappearing under minis.
I think I've used that colour.
I have. That's
that one. I've used that one. I thought I would show you my Scrappy cowl because I haven't for a little while, and I've been knitting on it every night. So She's like a woman possessed. I've made a lot of progress, and I'm just absolutely loving it. But this is in my snappy bag, my bedtime popper bag that attaches to the side of my bed that lovely Luciana made me. And I just love it. Luciana, I love this bag. And it, I sit in bed and the yarn is in the bag, and I just pull it out when I'm sat in bed, and I just pull it out and the yarn stays in the bag and doesn't roll on the floor and doesn't get lost. It's just brilliant. I just love it. And I think about Luciana every time I use it, so I love it. So here's my cowl, where I'm up to. Let me just show you. And, I've knit, I can't remember exactly where it was the last time I showed you, but it's quite long now. Look, it won't all go on the screen. Look, I'll go, look, there's the bottom. And then it goes on and on and on and on and on. And I'm there. I measured it actually. Oh, look, now I've dropped stitches after saying that. Let me just pick those up. I measured it because I just suddenly thought the other night, gosh, how long do I need to knit this? Because I want it to be long enough that when I graft the ends together, I can then double it as a cowl, around my neck. It'll be a double loop. So I got out a cowl that I knit ages ago, a Mad Tosh one that I can double, and I measured it, and it was about 48 inches. So I think I'll knit this to 50 inches maybe. That seems a nice round number. And when I measured it, I think I was on about 27, 28 inches. So a good, I'm a good way in. Isn't it pretty? It's just so lovely. I just, even the bit down here that, where there's a couple of yarns I'm not absolutely mad on, because this one did a strange pooling thing. And, the Christmas yarn does jump out at you. But even with all that, I still think it's just such a lovely thing. And I pick it up every night to work on it, and I look back at what I did the previous night, and I just think, oh yeah, that's a lovely colour, and There's so many different yarns in here. There's a couple that I've dyed. This is BB's Blanket, if you remember that one. I'm going to do some more of that actually for the next update. I'm going to do some more BB's Blanket.
When I've really got into Frasier, I really like it, and I never did when it was originally on.
And I did watch it.
Because Frasier's agent's called BB.
Oh, that's right.
So when you say BB's Blanket now, it does make me think of her. I mean, just those characters. She's
brilliant. This one is one I dyed. Can you see the pink and sort of lilac? This is one that I dyed up for our patrons. Oh, ages ago, I sent some minis out to all of our $25 patrons right back, when we started the Patreon campaign. And then this green one is a lovely Skein Queen. Can you see the rainbow one there? This one. Oh, I'm trying to point. Isn't it pretty? It's one of the ones from Alice Yarns that I got when we went to the Spring into Wool. So Alice Yarns, and she's based in York. And I've knit a couple of hers in. I've still got a load more to knit in. And there's quite a few from Amy, from my friend Amy. This gold one that I've just knit in was from Amy. I'm not sure what that is. I was trying to work out, Amy, what that was, and I'm not sure if it's Mad Tosh Sock. It kind of reminds me of that. This one I love. Can you see the colour underneath the gold here? It's beautiful. It was a mini from lovely Sarah, from my friend Sarah, and that's Skein Queen as well. The one below that I think is Nora George, Polar Express, that one was. And then the pink one, can you see the pink here? That is the yarn it's a Molly yarn, Homespun House, and it was a mini sent to me by Amber. Ages ago, Amber, you sent me a mini of it. And it's a sparkle yarn. I'll hold it up again, I don't know if you'll see the sparkle in it. But it's an odd sparkle yarn because the sparkle is like a thread that's wound around the outside of the yarn. So it's not like normal sparkle yarn where you get the stellina bits in it. It's wound around the outside of the yarn. Really nice, and it produces a really nice amount of sparkle, in your yarn. I don't know if she still does that base, but that was really nice. So yeah, I'm dropping stitches again,
dear.
Everybody. Oh dear.
And it was me that was talking about stitch dropping.
I need to put some ends on it, don't I? Some
stitch droppage.
I need to put some stoppers on it. Yeah. When I put it away, I always kind of do that, and push it right back. So that's my lovely cowl, and it had a provisional cast on, just to remind you. It's got a provisional cast on there, crochet provisional cast on. And I think it was 144 stitches that I cast on, 3mm needles. And I'm just knitting this ginormous tube, which I will graft together, to create a cowl. And then it suddenly occurred to me the other night that obviously I've got all these ends. However, you won't ever see the inside of this because it's a tube.
So you don't need to weave me?
Well, all I'm going to do, and I tried it with an end and it was absolutely fine, I'm just going to I'll double knot the ends, make sure that, you're not pulling the yarn or anything, that it looks nice on the other side. I'm just going to double knot the ends and leave the ends in there, because who's ever going to see them? Because all you'll ever see is it like this.
But you'll know they're there.
Well, I won't be bothered by the fact that I know the ends are there, because to weave in all of those all at once is a bit of a task, isn't it? And then because I was thinking about that, and I was thinking, I should stop and weave in my ends, and then I thought, what am I talking about? I don't really need to do that. All I need to do is make sure that they're secure. So I'm just going to knot them, and just...
You're not.
I am. I'm going to double knot them, just leave them on the inside and move on. But some of the yarns that I've got to put in, that I've just sort of picked out, I've got some lovely ones. This is a scrap of the Plucky Knitter. This was given to me by a friend who lives in New York, by Tracy. Gosh, it's a few years ago, and I knit a pair of socks in this, and I've got them. I knit the Almondine socks by, I think it's Anne Hansen, and it's this beautiful Plucky Knitter. And I love these socks so much. It's a lace pattern that I barely wear them, because I just don't want them ever to get a hole in or anything. So I just hardly ever wear them because of that. But I love them. They're one of my favourites. It's ridiculous, isn't it, that we do this? Because I'm just going to save this little bit, so that if I ever need to, I can darn them. It was just beautiful yarn to knit with the Plucky Knitter, and it's got 10% nylon, I think. So I love that. And then I've got these cute, I've got a jar upstairs in my office of all these little, can you see them? Little sort of gobstoppers of minis that came from Sarah, and I periodically go into this little jar and pull out a few to put into projects, and I just love them. They're so cute. They're about 5 grams each, I think. So I've got those ones to add in, and I've got the rest of the Alice yarns that I showed you before. I've got a couple of Sarah's texture crafts to add in because I think they're lovely. So yeah, I just really love it. I just really love this project, and it's just, I don't have to worry about anything at night, and I'm tired, and I can just knit. I don't have to do anything else. It's just knitting. So I know that I can't ever make a mistake, because previously if I've taken like socks to knit in bed or something else, something will go wrong. So this is just plain knitting. It's never a bother. It's lovely to work on, and every night I get a good little chunk done, so it grows super quick. So I would say if you've not knit one of these, it really is worth casting one on, just to keep in your handbag, or, like I do, by the side of the bed. Love it. So, yeah.
Finished?
Yes.
Excellent.
And I like to see it, look, I do this every night. I like to see it all rolled up. It's really nice. Sorry, go ahead.
No. Finished?
Yes.
Sure?
Yes.
Wonderful. It's the Irish coffee. Look at my cables. You can see
really?
them better now. Last time
They're lovely.
they were only just sort of appearing, so it was quite tricky for me to show them to you.
Tricky.
But there they are. There's my lovely cables, and of course they're also on the back there too. And the cable pattern I quite like. It's easy.
Yeah, it is easy. It is an easy cable.
Not difficult.
No.
You could totally do it.
Yeah.
And in a way, I sort of wish there was a few more tricky ones in it.
Oh, do you?
But it doesn't matter, because the cable pattern works well, because Kersley has one of these and it looks lovely. So I know, and what I like about this is on Kay's it's just plain knit on the back, and I'm putting the cables on the back, so it's nice. There'll be a contrast. It won't be like
You're
too.
trying to say yours is better than
I'm certainly not trying to say that, because it's not. In a word, it really isn't. What I'm establishing though, which I really like, is I think I might be a garment knitter, because I really.
This is excellent news.
It is excellent news. I really like this. At no point do I think I really need to knit on that. I want to. I always want to.
That's really good.
Kay had to help me with the sleeves, getting the stitches off, because I'd never done that before. And we had some funny games because of my tension and the stitches sort of sucking up and disappearing. Also as well, I extended a bit too far. I did 4 too many stitches, but my gauge is so tight.
I think it'll be fine. The sleeve cap's got
big.
More stitches than
4 more than the
size.
biggest size.
Yeah, but they're just short. It's not like it's going to be a full sleeve that would make it really baggy. They're only really short sleeves. It'll be fine.
So now, I'm onto the simple stuff now, because now it's just a case of knitting down the body and not messing up the cables. And I feel like I've made good progress on that on this year. There's mistakes in it, but nothing that I don't think we can't jiggle around and fix. There's nothing major. There's a few loose stitches here and there. And
see, look, it's done.
They'll look lovely on.
Yeah.
I mean, it's such a lovely colour. It really does.
It doesn't look massive at this point, does it? Really, when you hold it up to me. But I'm sure once it's washed and blocked, it'll be fine.
Which is worrying. But
well, no,
at the end of the day,
these things are always bigger than
you think.
You think once, because it does stretch a lot, that yarn as well. I remember. So
right, and the yarn, of course, as I've shown you before. So I was a bit too much. Look! I'm halfway through that ball.
That's the second ball, isn't it?
Soon it will be my tri-skein.
Wow.
Jumper thingy.
Yeah, and I have got another one balled up, but it had 2 breaks in it, didn't it? So.
That's shocking.
I'm keeping that one till last. You might not need it, so.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe not.
And it's the Rowan Pure Wool Aran.
It is indeed. And Irish coffee continuing very nicely, and it most definitely is my legacy. What else?
Let me just pop that away.
Is on your needles?
Ooh.
I don't even know. I'm guessing it's a sock.
No.
Oh. See, I would have guessed it's a sock, and I would guess it's a sock because only I would put socks in a bag like that.
Yeah, and look at these 2 bags. It's really funny. I pulled these out. Look. So this one I bought from Little Skein in the Big Wool, and this one I made with fabric that I bought from Little Skein in the Big Wool. So that's so cute, isn't it?
Come on, woman,
But
what are you
this
knitting?
is my hedgerow cowl that I'm knitting. Can you remember? I'm knitting this cowl in a set of minis from Hedgerow Yarns. And I'm on to the 3rd colour now, and there's 5 minis, each 20 grams each. These are the 2 I've got left. They're really pretty. And I'm on to the 3rd colour. So I thought it would be good to show you, because I think last time I was only on the moss stitch sort of border. And this is how much I've done. Oh, it's a bit crinkled because it's been in my bag, but look. Isn't it pretty? And I'm into the 3rd colour, which is this lace. Can you see I've started a lace here? It's kind of a bluey tone compared to this is more pink and purple. Really nice. It's so pretty. So what I did was I knit the first 20 grams as moss stitch, which is all this section. I then did plain stocking stitch for the next section, which went super quick. I'm now doing a lace pattern, which, you know, it's a speckly yarn, so the lace probably won't show up brilliantly well, but it's just a simple lace pattern that I'm doing. And then what I'm going to do when I've finished this is the mini I'm using now. It's kind of got blues and greens, tiny bit of red. I will then do another stocking stitch section and then another moss stitch section, and I think that'll be really nice. Lovely, lovely little project, and it kind of keeps your interest because, you know, you have that moss stitch, and then because I thought after the moss stitch you might want just something, you know, quick and easy. So I thought, right, okay, I'll do moss stitch, then I'll do plain stocking stitch, which is lovely after working the moss stitch and very quick. And then you've just been working stocking stitch, so you might want something a bit more interesting. So a nice bit of lace in the middle of the cowl. And then you've been working lace and you'll want something simple, so back to stocking stitch. And I think that works really well. And I'm going to put this pattern in the next issue of Knitability, which one has just come out today. So
it'll be 6 weeks.
6 weeks. So I'll just add this pattern in there. So it's really simple, but I just thought it might be a nice thing to do, that our patrons will get this pattern if you want to knit one up. And, you know, you don't have to use the hedgerow minis, obviously. You can just scrap dive, if you like, and get yourself 100 grams of scraps, you know, in 20 gram increments, and knit up a lovely cowl. And it'll just be a single loop, lightweight, you know, that'll just sit around your neck. And I think that it's lovely for sort of spring or early summer, where you just want something around your neck. And I really love how it's working up. So I'm doing that on 3mm again. Really nice.
Done.
Yeah.
Excellent.
So I'm going to get back to working on this because I want to have it done in plenty of time for Knitability.
Look what I cast on.
Ah.
This is a brand new double knitting project. I've come to realise that, you know, I've told you I like double knitting. I really, really, really like double knitting. The whole process I find intensely relaxing, and I had unfinished business with Vanishing Point. That's what this is. It's a Vanishing Point hat by the Sock Petition. And the reason why I had unfinished business was when I knit my first one, it's my first ever proper double knitting project, so I had no idea what my gauge was going to be, and it's very difficult to swatch for a hat knit in the round in double knitting. So knit the first one, which is like a bowl, and I don't like to do something and not succeed. So
I can get it on my head.
Yeah, but well, it looks silly.
It's really tight. Yeah.
So I just thought I want to knit another one. And also as well, I don't think I got the colours quite right before. And so I said to Kay, what would you like? And so she went and picked out these 2 lovely yarns. Here they are. The one on your left is a Dancing Dog Dye Works.
Yeah.
And the one on your right is a gift from Marlisha and Talia from when I was having chemo.
Yeah.
And it's a lovely pink.
The Dancing Dog Diaries is Lulu's dragon.
What I decided was that the best thing to do was to make sure that the main colour, so the colour that I will spend my time looking at, is well, it's not a solid pink, it's a tonal pink, but it's pink. So I know that pink should always be what I'm knitting with, because your main colour when you're knitting, double knitting in the round, is a knit stitch. My purl stitch then is the colourful one. And I'm making some changes to counteract for the fact that I'm a tight knitter. So first of all, I'm knitting on bigger needles.
Yeah, the pattern calls for something like 3.25 millimetres, I think, which is incredibly small for a DK weight, I think. I don't know if Nathan is a loose knitter or if that particular DK weight he used might have been thinner. And I think the first one you knit, I gave you 3.75 because I thought that's a couple up from the pattern, but it obviously came out way too tight. So you're now on 4.5 millimetre.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty sure that should sort it out. And this is slightly thicker. It's more like a worsted weight, this.
The other thing that I'm doing as well is I'm just adding a few rows on the bottom. What happened before was, I mean, I could have done a whole repeat again, and it may be that I do a whole additional repeat of the pattern. But what I thought I would do is just add a few rows on the bottom. That also gives you a chance just to, get everything working right for double knitting as you're knitting up. So I've added a little bit there, and then maybe I'll do an additional repeat of the pattern as we go. We'll see when we get up top. But it's great. It's just great fun. The only thing that isn't great fun, well, it is great fun because it's just a cool challenge. Doing an alternating twin colour cast on. It took me an hour to do it, and it was.
I mean, it's lovely. It's kind of like
It's like a Kitchener.
It looks like a Kitchener. What's the cast on that is a hat? Tubular cast on. It looks like that. It is a tube. Yeah, it looks like that. Can you see? Are you proud of yourself? That you're
just go back and watch episode 2 of the podcast, or episode 3, and Mr. Clueless over in the corner. But now I'm reminding Kay of cast-ons.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
And I've never done a tubular cast-on, actually.
This is a really fun cast-on to do. It
didn't look fun at the time.
It depends what you call fun, but
painful.
But there was an intense amount of concentration required. This is my new Vanishing Point hat, and what I'll most probably do is I'll most probably rotate this project with my piano, which is of course what I'm knitting. So there's always a bit of double knitting going on in the podcast. But those are the lovely yarns. That is my lovely hat, and it's the Vanishing Point by Sockmatician. So, now it's time, finally, the wait is over for the commencement of the new adventures of the bakery bears.
Have you got your popcorn and a
Get
drink?
your popcorn, yes. Or maybe there'll be an ice cream seller. That would be funny, wouldn't it? If suddenly someone's selling ice cream walk down your living room.
Wasn't that fabulous in the cinema when that used to happen at the
interval? It wasn't that long ago. I remember it happening.
The ice cream lady coming out with her torch,
I do remember.
It's fantastic, that.
Terrible. Or not terrible, it's marvellous.
Oh, it was wonderful.
So it's time for us to take you on our very first new adventure. This is in the footsteps of Hadrian. I hope you really enjoy it. So it's in 2 parts, so we'll see you in a bit and we'll find out what you thought. But yeah, I think it's time to roll... What do they call it? Roll tape. Run VT. Run VT. Welcome to the new adventures of the Bakery Bears. What a sight, what a setting. Now, In this series, we're going to take you to some of the most exciting destinations with the most amazing stories. And all of these are places which we've never been to before. Where does our story start? Right here on this beach. It's 1312, you're King Edward II, and you're running down this beach with your boyfriend, Piers Gaveston. You're running from your own lords, and you are running for your life. Edward II first met Piers Gaveston, with both as 16-year-old boys growing up in the court of King Edward I, the Hammer of the Scots. Now, you may remember him from the movie Braveheart, one of my favourites. He was famously played by the prisoner Patrick McGowan. History is not certain of how close their friendship became, but they must have been very close, as Edward refused to give up Piers throughout his life. In 1311, with Edward now King of England, the earls of the land had grown increasingly uncomfortable with their close relationship. When they demanded Piers be sent into exile, Edward refused and the chase was on. The earls gathered their private armies and made haste to intercept Piers before he could reach this bay, a ship, and perhaps safety. They made it, and we will pick up their story later in the series. Little will have changed on this seafront, and I think it's absolutely fitting their dash for safety gave this bay its name. But this is a site with 2,000 years of history, from an emperor sailing up the estuary just over that headland there, to a king running for his life down the beach, to brave Tommies firing their cannons from the top of this headland. This is Tinmouth. We're in the northeast of England, and our story starts up there at Tinmouth Priory. Picture the scene. It's 122 AD. You're one of the ancient tribes that lived all across England. And you would have known only the land probably within 50 miles of where you lived. You would have lived in an ancient round house. And perhaps you were down here one day, you were looking out to sea and wondering what was across the sea. No one had ever been across the sea yet, so they didn't know if there were dragons there, monsters, or other land just like this. And then one day, you see on the horizon a whole fleet of Roman triremes. And what an arrival it must have been, a Roman emperor venturing out into the farthest corners of his empire. Now, Roman triremes were designed specifically to look terrifying, and I can't imagine what they would have thought, and they were carrying such a special cargo. This man, the Roman Emperor Hadrian, he's about to set foot for the first time on English soil, and he will make decisions that will transform England and this region of our country for the next 2,000 years. This is the man who would conceive and order the construction of this, Hadrian's Wall, stretching 80 miles from here in the east across to the opposite coast on the west. Hadrian was the man who realised that the Roman Empire had spread as far as it could on the resources he had available. It was time to consolidate, and what an amazing job he did. But first, he had to make his arrival, and that's exactly what he did right up this estuary. He sailed up to Newcastle, he disembarked there, and he set about imprinting his name across this land. And this is very much where the lights come on for Tinmouth as a historical site. Roman stones have been found in excavations right here, and it makes total sense that they would have chosen this point to guard this impressive vantage point north, south, and most importantly directly up the Tyne. For the next 200 or so years, Tinmouth would most probably have been a Roman sentry post, providing early warning for any hostile seabound raiding parties. In 383 AD, the Romans abruptly left. And what would have happened then is local warlords would have come in and filled the vacuum, the power vacuum that was left by the departing Romans. For the next 300 years, the lights go off on history. It's what we call the Dark Ages. But in the 7th century, the lights suddenly spring back on with the foundation of this stunning priory.
to Tinmouth Priory. The ruins you see date from 1090 to 1210, but as we enter the church, through the outer porch and into the nave, let's meet the man who founded the very first church here. Round about 630 AD, Edwin was King of Northumberland and the most powerful ruler in Great Britain. This was a time in history before our first King of England. The country was split into counties, many the same in what we live today, and each was ruled by their own king. It would be another 300 years before one king would appear to rule them all, so Edwin ruled with great authority and power. Many believe because he was a Christian.
So what does a good Christian leader do? He builds a priory, of course, to give his followers a place to worship and to show his veneration to God.
The priory was so special. Within the first 400 years of its existence, 3 kings were buried here, the most notable being Malcolm III, King of Scotland, who would go on to achieve lifelong fame as one of the leading characters in Shakespeare's Macbeth. We are now stood in the priory's chapter house, looking across at the ruins of the infirmary. These are the buildings the brothers who run the priory would have lived and worked in. The brothers' dormitory lay on the second floor of these buildings, and it was accessed by the remains of this wonderful spiral staircase.
So we're now in the heart of the monastery at Tinmouth Priory, and this is the prior's chapel.
Now, the prior was the most important man here at Tinmouth. He ran the whole site, so these rooms would have been quite grand. This was most probably his private chapel, but it's now used, as you can see down there, to display ornate stone found here at the site. And what a site it is! Even in its ruined state, you couldn't argue that Tinmouth is one of the great Gothic monuments of England. This is the most sacred part of the church. Whilst the congregation would pray in the nave, monks would perform private masses here for the great and the good of local society. Speaking of the great and the good, this is the Percy Chapel, built by the Percy family in 1471.
Ah, gold and blue.
What have you found, Kay?
A painted ceiling with pretty stars.
And look at that window.
Yeah.
That is stunning.
That must be the original.
Look at that.
The Percys actually still live locally to this day, 700 years in the same spot, and that spot's Alnwick Castle, which was famously used in the filming of Harry Potter and Downton Abbey. Now, I can't recall seeing anything like this in any of the other monasteries and priories we've visited, and there's a reason why. After Henry VIII dissolved the priory in the 16th century, this chapel carried on in use for another 100 years for the many who continued to be buried in this hallowed spot. Now, we had a little bit of an explore of the graveyard, and it is an unbelievable place. Some of the dates on these graves are just astounding. As we turn to look back down the length of this stunning church, take a look at this. There's 2 seats there just on the right hand side. Now, they were for priests. Directly to the left there's a wash basin used for washing altar vessels and most probably hands. The oblong recess was a cupboard for storing vessels that were probably washed in the little sink, and also most probably for storing sacred books. What you're looking at was built in 1190 and used constantly for nearly 500 years, and now here it sits for you and me to wonder at. That right there is why I adore history. But Tinmouth has so much to show us. Its geographical position right on the coast made it highly susceptible to raids. So what lays right around the priory? A castle. And what a castle it is! Set in this prominent coastal position, it really couldn't have been any better. This gatehouse was actually built by the monks, most probably to protect themselves from potential Scottish raids, as we're not too far from the border here. It's not difficult to see why Edward II chose Tinmouth to make his dash for freedom. It's such a challenging place for an invading force to get close to, and it's also why successive future kings of England would consider this the strongest castle in the north of the country. And of course, we're looking down on King Edward's Bay there, where King Edward made his mad dash to a boat and to freedom. What we're looking at now was built in 1390. There'd been a gatehouse previously, but it had been wooden. This is actually all that remains of the castle complex. What was left of the rest was demolished and quarried in the 19th century, before we realised we needed to protect such important buildings. What I find so fascinating is seeing this outer barbican that we're looking at right now. Now, I grew up seeing these on the City of York's walls. If you did plan to attack, getting past the outer gate was a fool's errand. You would find yourself trapped and completely open to fire from above. The castle was also surrounded by a ditch which we've just walked across, and a drawbridge which has now been removed was there to protect that main gate that we just saw. Up until King Henry VIII closed the priory in the 16th century, these castle rooms, would have been used by the monks to protect their priory. But when the monks left, the castle passed under the control of a local constable who would have most probably worked for the Percy family, who are of course the dukes of this region. There's actually an inventory from 1585 which lists furnishings and domestic interiors. Many brightly coloured and beautiful wall hangings are mentioned, which was not common for such a distant outpost. But a written passage from the inventory perhaps gives it away. The constable boarded every ship in the bay and took furniture for His Majesty's castle in service for the protection they offered for docked vessels.
We've had enough of the interestability.
What do you mean?
Can we have a knit?
Well, okay. Let's go and find the perfect spot and we'll see you there later on in the show. Wow! That was cool! Let me tell you, this is the most excited I've been on a out and about, on a location shoot in as long as I can remember.
He was very excitable.
And I think what that tells you is, and I've just written about this actually in today's issue of Knitability, and we've spoken about things like this before, you can fall into what we spoke about on the trailer, that circle of trust. You know certain places are going to deliver what you want and you never break out of that circle. And breaking out of that circle, it reignited really in all of us.
It was great fun. We all enjoyed it. Yeah, and it just went really well. I mean, I can't. Did we have
no. What's so lovely about it?
It did all go really well.
What's so lovely about it is because we're approaching this in a different way, because we're approaching it with the story and the stories that we tell at the centre, really, of what we're doing. Whilst when we go back, we'll be having a bit of a knit and maybe having a bit of a picnic too. The story lies at the centre of the visit, and that's really cool because we can pick. We can nail down and pick some really great places with some really great stories. But more of that later on in the show.
Yeah.
Now it's time to find out, Kay Jones, what's off your needles?
I do have one thing, but they're quite big one things.
Look, it's constant this. Oh, it takes me so long. Do
you want to knit yourself?
That's what you were saying before.
Yeah, you just
No,
knit
I
yourself.
don't want to knit myself.
Just knit yourself a pair of fingering weight socks then. Just go ahead.
No.
I finished Dan's Vallum Hadriani socks. And look, I've got blockers. Don't they look massive? These blockers were sent to us as a gift. Some large man-sized sock blockers. So that's brilliant. We've got some lovely blockers now. So there we go. And I think they look great. Don't they look lovely? So it's the Vallum Hadriani from Fondant Fibre with Opal heels. No, that's not heel. No, that's not heel. Heels, toes and cuffs in well done me.
A small round of applause, please.
Well done. In the olive colourway from Opal, the Opal Solids, and I did that to make sure that these would last, they would wear better than the last pair I made for you.
Because the last pair didn't wear very well.
No, and you've still been wearing them, but they just...
I do, because every so often I just get to the point where I think, do you know what?
You really like...
I'm going to wear this.
Yeah, you really like the yarn because the socks are a finer knit because the yarn's slightly thinner, but then that means, because I don't knit them to a particularly tight gauge, you know, I use 2.5mm for Dan, because if I use 2.25 I'd need to cast on even more stitches, and 72 is just enough, you know. I don't want to have to cast on like 76, which is probably what I'd have to do with a smaller needle. So it works this way, and I just used Opal to reinforce effectively heels, toes, not so much cuffs, but it just looked nice. And what I've started doing is I'm keeping like a little sock
diary.
A sock diary, yeah, because
What's it
quite
say in
often...
the front there? Kay's sock journal with a heart.
It's making fun.
I'm not, I'm smiling.
Whenever I knit socks, I kind of, you know, if I'm knitting a similar pair again, then I have to go back to that sock and count how many repeats and things like that. So I just thought, do you know what, if I just write it down every time I knit a pair of socks, just write down what pattern I used, how many pattern repeats on the leg, how many pattern repeats to the toe, then the next time I knit a sock in that pattern or a similar pattern, I'll know. So that's what I've done. So I've made like a page for these ones, and I've just put what yarn I used, size of needle, how many rows for the cuff, how many rows for the leg, and you know, how many to the toe, what pattern I used, I've just jotted that down, and then how much yarn I used as well, because I think that's a useful thing to know. And these weighed 88 grams altogether. 30 grams of that was the Opal, so I used effectively 15 grams for each sock of the contrast, and then I had left 43 grams of the Vellum Hadriani. So it isn't enough to knit these again, but I could just knit really short socks, you know, and you have some like trainer length socks, yeah. And I could just knit a longer cuff in a contrast colour, and then just a few rows in, you know, the Vellum Hadriani, and then did the same thing, and I think then I could probably squeeze out another pair. You know, altogether, I think they came out really lovely. You know, I've washed them, they've obviously been blocked now, and you can have them. I'm thrilled, to be honest, because... He is thrilled, yeah, because... They are without doubt. You love these socks, don't you? I really do. Yeah. And, you know, I'd go through periods of not wearing them because I didn't want to finish them off. Yeah, because the toes were just so thin. And then just thinking, do you know what? I don't care. And you have been wearing them. So, and what I was actually thinking of doing with that pair, because it's the toes that have gone, isn't it? Mm. I thought I could just rip back the toe and re-knit it in an Opal. Yeah. And then that'll extend the life for you a bit, won't it? Absolutely. It sounds like a good idea. I'll check the state of the rest of the sock. Look at that though. It just looks lovely. Great. It's gorgeous yarn. The colourway. You know, the colours are just... It's bang on the money. It looks like Hadrian's Wool. Yeah, I really, really enjoyed knitting these. Deb, if you're watching, you know, I did really, really enjoy knitting these. All that we said about, you know, the yarn base when I saw you. I really, really loved knitting them. You know, and so enjoyed those. So that's my finished object. And actually, talking of like magic loop and everything, as we were, for these I used an Addy, and I think they might be sock rockets in the US, but here they're not called sock rockets, they're just like Addy lace, I think, and the cable's a different colour. But these actually were really good. I really liked these. And didn't really have any problems with the cable causing me issues or anything. I did enjoy knitting with these, so yeah, I just thought I'd tell you that. Do you know, I know at home, yeah, there's a mum who's sat with her daughter, yeah, watching. Aww. Her daughter always sits and watches. She's not a knitter, yeah, and her mum would love her to maybe have a go at knitting. Aww. And I think Becky Mortimer, you should knit your mum a pair of socks. Because you can see Kay's tutorials through your mum's login. So you should have a look at Kay's
magic loop tutorials, that would probably be the easiest way to crack on.
Yeah.
She could do the incredibly easy socks by Tracy Darby.
Yeah.
Hi Tracy, who's just knit a gelato giraffe
Tracy,
called Jelly.
Oh, it's so cute. Tracy's just knit a Miss Gelato. It was so sweet. I loved it.
Yeah. So you could do the incredibly easy socks. You could follow Kay's tutorials, and you could give them to your mum for Christmas. I think that's a great idea.
That would be lovely.
Go for it, Becky. We believe in you. Hello, Jeanette.
I've made another hot drink because it's freezing today. What is that all about?
I had to get my winter running gear out.
It's only just a very brief cold snap that we're having at the moment. I think it's going to warm up slightly tomorrow, but it was like 2 degrees this morning.
So, as I mentioned earlier, I went out for a longer run this morning. It's my first longer run for a long time, because obviously I had to stop running for 8 weeks, and then I've been back running for 3.5 weeks. So that's.
And you've just been doing 2 miles, haven't you? Whereas you were doing 4, weren't you? Is that right?
So yes, it was. 4 or just a little bit more. So 12 weeks, first longer run. I got lost.
Did you? You didn't tell me this. Where did you get lost?
Twice.
Oh, I can't believe it. Where did you go to get lost?
Well, in my defence, I was trying a slightly amended new route,
right,
and I missed a turning. And I sailed off, because you're moving quite quick, especially when you're quite tall. So I sailed off down this dirt track, and I'm getting further and further down, and I was starting to think, this isn't right. So I'm thinking, do I carry on and just do my shorter track run, so 2.5, or do I turn around, go back and pick up the trail? And do you know what? I thought, I'm going to turn around and go back, because I set out this morning with the mission. I am going to push it a little bit further today. I'm going to just settle back in my pace and just get a little bit further. So I did, and then later on in the run, I turned right at the wrong point, because I wanted to run along the river, and I turned right on the wrong side of the river.
Right.
So you'll let me off, I'm sure.
I won't.
Enough waffle. We want to find out what's Tinmouth like for knitability and for the extremely controversial, as you will find out, picnicability. So, roll VT! This is a pretty good knitability spot, Kate.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts?
Well, it's lovely. We've got a brilliant view to see.
Is it going to be bothering you? I mean, I think the site is big enough for it not to be a bother. Those people are far enough away, and there's a few people here.
It's quite busy.
It is quite busy. What a stunning view, as you say.
It's a beautiful view, yeah. I've just got to hope that my hands are going to function.
If I look directly that way, I can see straight through. Look, you can see straight through an arch there, straight out to sea where Hadrian sailed up. You can see the guns over there from 1941. And you can also see the castle over there. So really, and obviously there's the estuary that Hadrian sailed up. So 2,000 years of history from one knitting spot.
It's a lovely spot, and also to be nice just for a picnic as well, because you could just put your blanket down there.
It absolutely would. And there's just enough sun here now.
And there's a loo right over there.
So
we always like a loo.
What are we thinking for knitability on score? I suppose it's by the sea, so there's a good chance you're always going to have a bit of a breeze.
Yeah, that's true. But I'd probably give it a good 7 or 8.
The fact that it's a beautiful day, but cold enough for me to wear a woolen hat, is swaying my vote.
Yeah, we probably look bonkers wearing woolly hats when it's so sunny, but it is quite chilly. It's only about 9 degrees at the moment. You can see it's quite breezy, so it is quite chilly. We're very glad we packed some hats.
And it's always going to be breezy
near the sea,
so that maybe knocks it down a score, do you think?
Yeah, so maybe 7.
I think 7 is probably about right.
It's a good score.
Yeah, but I've got to say though, I do love this site. What are you thinking?
Yeah, it's very interesting, because I was just saying, wasn't I, that there's so many different elements of history, so many different stages.
And while we're sat here, let's bottom out the interestability.
It's very interesting. Well, yeah, it's very, very interesting, I think.
It really is interesting. It's got me going, as you've probably noticed.
It has got him going.
I've been running around like a lunatic.
It has.
I'm feeling an 8.
8, I was thinking 8.
Yeah? Do you agree? Yeah, we all agree it is definitely an 8.
It's like those 2 planes are going to crash, doesn't it? They're clearly not, but it does. Oh! No, they're okay.
What a show we're getting. It's all too much. Look, that's enough knitting.
Yes.
We've got a lighthouse to go and explore.
Okay.
From the earliest records of the Priory, a tradition began to light a coal-fired brazier in one of the Priory Church's East End turrets that you can just see up there, except of course it's fallen down now. This continued on in the years after Henry VIII closed the Priory, but in 1559 the stairs to the church turret collapsed. For over 100 years ships floundered off the headland until the modern era of lighthouses began. Finally the governor of the castle could protect the ships trying to make port. This picture is from 1895 and it shows the Abbey Church there and the lighthouse to the right. 1895 was actually the year the lighthouse closed. A much bigger lighthouse was built a little further up the coast, and this cute little one, just at the end of the bay there, was built to help ships navigate into port here. Now, we're actually stood in a very interesting point. This is Spanish Battery, and it's called so because Henry VIII in the 16th century hired Spanish mercenaries to place guns right here where we're stood so that they could protect the port and also protect the castle that's just coming back into view. And it still actually holds that name to this day.
It was 1941 that saw Tinmouth Priory's final moment of serious active duty. The British Expeditionary Force had been pushed back from France. They fled Dunkirk, evading Hitler's advancing army, and they were back now within the shores of Great Britain, and people were scared. Behind me right there used to be the most state-of-the-art gun to get any of the ships that would potentially come in Hitler's, I think it was Sea Lion, was his plan for attacking Great Britain. Now, the gun has been taken away from there, but there is still one just around this corner.
The country was terrified Hitler would push on and take England, so we needed defences and we needed them quickly. These gun emplacements were actually installed around 1900, and as war potentially was about to hit English soil, brand new guns were installed. Tinmouth became part of the countrywide coastal defence system, fitted with the most state-of-the-art weaponry, ready to repel the Germans' feared plan to invade, the dreaded Operation Sea Lion. This is the 22-year-old Arthur Lloyd, one of the brave soldiers who worked here at Tinmouth, and this is his good friend Bob Jones, again another of the soldiers that manned the guns at Tinmouth Priory. And I find it absolutely fascinating that once again we have local English boys looking out to the horizon, just like they had done all those years before when Hadrian arrived, 2,000 years before when Hadrian arrived, and still we're looking out on the horizon, fearful of what's about to come into view. Now, luckily, Bob and Arthur never saw invading forces, but that's not to say that it wouldn't have been terrifying. I can't imagine, can you, being stood behind one of those guns, keeping your eyes on that horizon and always ready to fire if you thought you saw something that looked remotely dangerous. But what a stunning place to be in, though, and it must have been odd, mustn't it? In World War II, absolutely terrified, but being in a place of such outstanding beauty. This now obviously is a gun emplacement that's been removed. There's only one that's left. There is a cannon as well that's left over from Napoleonic eras. But looking straight down there, you can see the reason why this is so strategically important, but also so stunningly beautiful. Now, that's not to say that Bob and Arthur didn't see some action. This is the Dutch vessel Marne sinking after hitting a mine in Tinmouth Bay. Shall we explore the rooms that Bob and Arthur and the rest of the gun crews used to actually live and work in? Of course, the gun is what you see up the top, and that's the business end of what's going on in these emplacements. But there's so much that needs to go on underneath. You need places to store your cartridges, you need places to sit and have your lunch when you're not on duty. And this is the route into the areas that all those soldiers used to work in. Probably the majority of their time would be spent down here. Now, those shelves, that's where the cartridges used to be put. And when those shells were needed, they'd be loaded into that. That's a cartridge lift that would send it up to one of the guns above. But they didn't just use lifts, they also used man-hauled pulleys there. They used to pull on the chain, up the cartridge would go, loaded into the gun, and those emplacements you can see on the right there, and then fired out to sea if needed. What you can see there on the right hand side, that's where the lighthouse used to be. That was a lifeboat station for a short amount of time. But we're at the seaside, aren't we? and I'm starting to feel decidedly hungry. So I think it's time that we start to explore the picnic ability of Tinmouth. So we're heading down onto the beach here. You can see the girls in front of me there. And look, there's a lovely little shack, and we've had this little tip-off that shack sells fish and chips.
Well, oh dear. Everything was going so well.
It was.
And then we got to the picnic ability scores. Now let me tell you, the potential is huge. And had we been able to get fish and chips at the lovely shack that's just over there, Riley's Fish Shack, with a huge queue, the score would have been 10.
Yes.
Because we're sat on a beach and it's lovely and the site is just up there and it was stunning.
Yeah.
So what would your score have been if we'd been able to get fish and chips and they'd been nice?
9, because it's a bit chilly. So
Right.
I would have had to have, I know that's not fair to knock off one for the weather, but you know, we're at the beach and you can't always rely on the weather, I suppose, can you? So 9 probably, if we could have got fish and chips.
Now,
Sadly.
the moral of the story is always bring a picnic.
And I always say that. Do I not always say that?
But what we saw this morning, a lovely fish shack
Yeah.
that's on the beach, and we assumed that you would be able to get fish and chips. Now, you can get oysters Rockefeller for £8.50. You can buy pan-fried hake for £24. I think they think they are a posh restaurant.
We're in Tinmouth,
Yeah.
in the northeast of England.
Yeah.
It's just silly. We just want fish and chips, and we can get them up in town.
That's what we're going to do.
So we're
But
going
we
do
have to
that.
score it as we see it. So if we
Well,
brought a picnic,
If we brought a picnic, and really the moral, I should always. I'm so mad with myself.
but we didn't bring a picnic because we saw this and we should be able to get it. So
Yes.
it's tricky because the
very
environment's
tricky.
lovely.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
4,
Okay.
because I'm mad at the moment.
Do we go 5 to be?
Well, all right then.
Well, no. You feel 4, and to be honest, I was the one who was stood in the queue that moved nowhere for quite some time. Let's go with 5.
Okay.
Okay,
5.
so
Let's be generous.
we have our scores.
Yes.
We have our scores. So the scores are 7 for knitability.
Yeah.
It's 8 for interestability.
Yeah.
So that's 15. It's blown it on the picnic ability because it's
has.
got 5,
Yeah.
so it's finished with a score of 20. Now, we have our brand new Adventures of the Bakery Bears leaderboard, which is here, and there's only one place on that leaderboard at the moment.
So 20 out of 30. That's
So
not
20
brilliant,
out of
is it?
30, it's blown it. To be honest, it could never be. This place, whilst it is a lovely place to come and have a knit, and I would strongly recommend you come here, and I've never been to a site like this, I think that it could never be one of our favourite places to knit because the journey to get here is a pain.
It is a bit of a pain. Getting anywhere north from where we live is a pain.
Getting anywhere north from anywhere. So, Tinmouth?
Tinmouth?
I don't even know what accent that was. What accent was that? Yeah, it was Scottish, yes.
Maybe.
So, Tinmouth Priory scores a rather average 20, which is a real shame.
It is a shame.
And I have a feeling that our next visit may just absolutely
because-
blast it out of the water.
Even if we'd thought on and bought fish and chips up in town,
They'd be cold by now.
They would be cold by the time we got to the beach. It's a bit of a trek, you know. You have
Yeah.
to walk through town, down a lot of steps,
Yeah.
onto the beach. So, you know, but we will get them.
Yes, we will, and I'll show you some pictures. So folks, we have succeeded in getting fish and chips, and the cost of all of these, and that is 3 fish and chips, was less than 1 pan-fried hake with seasonal vegetables down at Riley's Fish Shack. These fish and chips are result, but I don't think we'll be altering our picnic ability score, will we?
No.
And so ends our brand new adventure, from the founding of this site by Edwin to the Romans sailing past.
And a king running for his life down a beach with his friend. To the brave young men manning the gun posts defending their home. One of England's most impressive Gothic monuments standing proud for over 500 years. To the castle which garrisoned troops for over 1,000 years.
For 2,000 years, Tinmouth Priory, this place, has always found itself at the heart of the story of England. And I can't help but wonder what its next chapter will be. So that's it. It's our first new adventure, and it is absolutely one of my most memorable. It does feel like the beginning of a whole new chapter.
Definitely.
And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, we had a really good time, and I think that comes across as well, that we all really enjoyed it. Brian had a
Because
really
we
good
know what
time
we're
too.
doing now when we do these things, you know.
Yeah.
It's only taken us 2 years to nail down the shoot. But, you know, if you watch the Favourite Place to Knit series, you'll see we try and make improvements every time we did one. And now we feel like we've got a formula which really works. And, you know, she was brilliant. She did some brilliant filming. Really, really helpful.
Bryony.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think what we're so excited about is the fact that we forward planned, or because this, you know, we're approaching this, sort of said, differently, and you can see what the next episodes are going to be. If you head over to our Ravelry group and you go onto the New Adventures thread, you'll see all the episodes.
Yeah.
We're not going to tell you specifics.
No.
They all have quite cryptic names, but feel free, you know, if you want to have a chat in there.
And we're trying always to get ahead of ourselves, aren't we, with regards to filming, because I certainly feel that if there's kind of a little less pressure, that, you know, I know that this episode, what we're recording, is not going out for a little bit. We've already got one done, and
also,
it
gives me
more
more
time.
time.
Gives you more time.
Gives you more time on the production side.
Yeah.
The more time we have on the production side, the better we can make it. And
It's all about time management, which I've had great issues with, as you know, over the months.
Always
and
try
now I've
something
got
new.
it. I feel like I've got it nailed.
Excellent.
The time management
Well
thing. And I had a great day yesterday. I didn't say to you, but I felt like I had a really great day. I got loads done. I got more done that was on my schedule, and it was just great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Folks, it's time for the Endy Bits.
What I'll do first, let's do this first, because I've got a prize.
The Incantation Socks prize.
Yes!
Who is the winner?
I closed the thread on the Incantation Socks chatter thread that was going on, and I've drawn for a prize that it was between numbers 2 and 125, and the random number drew 114, and that was Buttonmouse01, and that's Michelle in Scotland. So that's brilliant. So Michelle, Buttonmouse01, you've won this beautiful set of fondant fibre in Just Add Magic, and then this mini that lovely Deb dyed me up 2 minis specifically. She's not had this in a shop or anything like that. This was specifically for me to go with this yarn. So Michelle, that's yours. So would you PM me either on Ravelry or a direct message on Instagram, I don't mind, with your full name and your address, and I will get that winging its way north.
Yes.
Well done.
The Wow Cal and the You're My Hero Cal finishes on Sunday.
Last day's Sunday, so I will.
So get knitting.
Yeah, I will close the threads on Monday, so you've got, you know, the full day on Sunday to finish up all your projects.
But it will be first thing on Monday, so, you know, make sure you get everything
I mean,
in
it'll
on
be
Sunday.
past midnight everywhere in the world.
Yeah.
You know, so make sure that you've get everything into the threads, and then we will draw for the prize winners for that on the next episode.
So if 2 Cals are finishing, surely that means...
Oh, I'm kind of excited about this. We spoke to the patrons about this on the pop that we did last week, because I was too excited not to. But we're going to have a Cal starting on my birthday next month, which is the 25th of next month. And I've wanted to do this knit along for ages. Ages and ages and ages. But other things just kept coming along. And finally I saw a gap. I saw a gap in the knit along schedule. So I was like, I'm going to
grab it.
I'm going to grab that gap. And we're going to do a knit along. And it's going to be an Opal yarn knit along. I'm so excited. So you can knit anything you want. I mean, I know Opal is designed for socks, but you can knit anything you like. I'm not fussy on what you knit. I'm guessing that most of us will probably knit socks, but it's using Opal yarns specifically. So it will start on the 25th of May. We'll say it's new cast-ons because it's my birthday, and that'd just be nice for me to think that everybody's casting on, you know, new Opal socks or shawls or whatever on my birthday. That'd just be so nice. So it'll run from 25th of May through to the end of June. So it's about 5, maybe just over 5 weeks, which I think is a great amount of time. to knit. Even if you're a slow knitter, you could knit a pair of socks, I think, in that amount of time. And I've just pulled out a few yarns because I do have quite a lot of opal. And I was chatting to a friend yesterday about it and just saying that I find it really hard to use because, as we all know, opal have a habit of discontinuing their colourways. And then what happens is everybody wants it once it's discontinued. So there was a recent range, I'll get the ones from there. There was a recent range that came out called My Sock Design. And there was 8 yarns in the range, and each colourway had been designed by just, by a knitter like us, as far as I can tell anyway. And this is just one of the balls, and the person who designed it is on the ball band. How fabulous is that? Oh, how thrilled would you be if that was you on an opal ball band? If that was me, I would buy the entire die lot and say, oh, that's me. So, this is 3 of them from the range. They're all lovely, and I actually bought all 8 of them. That's 3 of them. The colours are fantastic. So it's My Sock Design. This one I think will be the most popular. This is called Over the Rainbow, and it's 9376. And as you can see, it's a rainbow stripe. I think I predict that will be incredibly popular. And I'm going to knit these for Bryony. I'm going to cast on 3 pairs of socks on the day, one for each of us. This one is going to be Bryony's, definitely. And I've ordered some solids. I've ordered a grey and a lilac, and I'm going to use solids for the heels. So that's going to be Bryony's. And then what I'm going to do for Dan, I can't quite decide. I've got a few options. I've got 1 precious skein of Van Gogh left. I think you've got 2 or 3 pairs of Van Gogh. And it's one of my absolute favourite ranges that Opal did. And this one is in variation knacked.
Pretty.
Oh, I don't know. It's that. And it was that painting of Van Gogh. So it might be those. It might be my other precious skein, which is Harry from Harry Potter, that was given to me by lovely Amber. It might be that one. Then it might be this one. This was a discontinued one that I found, which is an opal. It's colourway number 5141, and it's Robin Hood. Look at that. I love that one. It might be a graffiti. I've got another colour of this, but I love the graffiti range, which again is discontinued. So I've just got loads and loads of options. But basically, I just love opal, and they just wear so well, don't they?
Very much. Yes.
And it's just brilliant. So I'm so excited. So I wanted to tell you now. I know it's a month away, but I wanted to tell you so that you can go out and get some opal if you haven't already. I know it's maybe not quite so easily attainable outside Europe, but I'm sure you'll be able to get it. I know that all of Love Knitting, places like that, ship worldwide. So if you wanted to join in, then it gives you a chance to grab some yarn.
Sure. So we'll be drawing for prizes for You're My Hero and for the Whirl on the next podcast episode. So whilst it's finishing on Sunday, the next one is due a couple of weeks into May, so that's when we'll draw it.
Brilliant.
And of course the fog along is still ongoing. The fog run is obviously open to everybody, and fog runners, we are on 9,000 miles. In fact, we'll be over 9,000 miles now. So excellent effort. We're absolutely flying along. And podcast patrons, keep knitting, of course, for the fog along.
I've got a couple of things. A friend of mine sent me a message to say, was I aware that Knit Picks now did a thicker weight Felici? Because she knows that Dan, although he's knitting on thinner weight now, generally he knits on thicker weight. And I was like, oh, I didn't know, I'll go and have a look. And then she said, well, I'm going to place an order. If you want to tag onto my order so that we both get free shipping, then just let me know. So I was like, right, yeah, I will. So I went over to Knit Picks and had a look. And I've ordered a couple of skeins and I've got them. It's actually a worsted weight Felici. I've got 2 skeins, and I also I've been wanting to try for ages the Knit Picks Caspian needles. I think they're really the same as Knit Pro Knit Pro symphonies, the rainbowy coloured ones, but they're just really pretty colours. So I got a set of those. He's laughing at me because
I'm laughing because I said to you, oh, I was like interested. What's the difference? Nothing. Oh.
Well, they are different.
Right.
They're a different colour.
Right. Which of course.
And they're
makes
nitpicks.
all the difference.
I suppose. I mean, Knit Pro, nitpicks. Is it the same thing? I don't know. So I was just curious, and they do kind of look the same. But I'm going to use these in one of my Opal socks. So I've got those to try. But the 2 worsted weights I've got are these 2.
Beautiful.
Aren't they lovely? I've got the Time Traveller and I got Rustic. Because I wanted to knit a couple of pairs of socks for Dan, and I just thought these colours would suit him. The yarn seems really nice. Because this is a brand new yarn and it's also new to me, I thought it'd be good to do a review of it. So I'm going to do that for patrons.
Should be doing a 3-part review.
I'll do, yeah.
Off the shelf,
yeah.
in progress, and
finished. So
finished
I'll
up.
be getting these on the needles fairly soon, I think. I'm not sure which colour I'll do. But on the face of it, it's super soft. It feels so lovely and soft. It's a 75/25. Superwash merino nylon, and you get 218 yards
lovely.
per 100 grams. Machine washable. I'll be doing that again
yes.
with these. So yeah, I got those. So really pleased with those. So thank you, Kelly, for letting me do that. That's
Anything
lovely.
else?
So squishy.
Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I think that's everything.
So next episode, we will be finishing our treasure hunt. It's our final trek out. Who knows where we will be going, but tune in for episode 74 to find out. I know one thing, it's a very epic journey, so don't miss it. And of course, as we said earlier on the show, Knitability Issue 2 is now out with an amazing interview with Susan Claudino, wonderful book review from you, and a tea review, and a feature on Deb from Fiverr, and an updated interactive playlist. Oh my goodness.
It's a packed issue.
It is a really packed issue. It's grown from last time, and thank you all so much for your wonderful feedback about it. So that is it.
That's it.
That's the end of episode 73, and it's been just brilliant. Thank you all so much for watching.
I will have had my hair cut the next time you see me.
Oh, that's news to me.
Well, I can barely see, so I've got to get something done, haven't I? And I'm going to have a colour as well, but I don't know if I'm brave enough to have the colour done when it's a brand new hairdresser. So I think I'll have to have a cut first, and then
good idea.
The traumas of modern day life.
So you'll find out all about that in the next episode, most probably. So thank you so much for watching.
Thank
and
you.
we'll see you in 2 weeks for episode 74.
Bye.
Who's it sitting and knitting? It's Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. Enthusiasm's not quitting for Dan and Kay, the bakery bears. They'll take you to fabulous places of which their favorites they'll share. You better buy a pattern and get yourself a bakery bear. You'll find yourself in a castle while watching the bakery bears. It never feels like a hassle to sit and watch the bakery bears. What's on your shelf or what's in your